Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to Creative Grandma's Kitchen. My channel is all about just everyday cooking, everyday meals with everyday simple ingredients that you have around in your house. So today's video is what we call Dad's favorite macaroni and cheese. This is an Italian style macaroni and cheese that my husband's mother made him when he was little, and it just brings back so many wonderful memories of his mom who has passed. And it's just one of those, every time I make it, it just puts a smile on his face. So this is a special recipe I want to share with you, and I hope you really enjoy making it. So let me show you the simple ingredients you need to make this meal. So let me go over the simple ingredients you need for this recipe. Now first, you're going to need a 1 pound box of macaroni, but I have to bring it to your attention because when I went to the store to buy a box of macaroni to do this video, I noticed that I just grabbed a box thinking it was the 1 pound box. But what they did was they have the same size box, but they reduced it to 12 ounces. So just make sure you're using about 16 ounces. Now you can go with 12 ounce if you wish. My recipe calls for 16 ounces, so I'm just going to add a little bit extra to this 12 ounce box. The next ingredient you're going to need is I use the Italian style diced tomatoes. Now you can use regular tomatoes and dice them up yourself. This is just a faster way of making it by just using the canned tomatoes. And this is a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Now, because I love cheese, I'm using 1.5 pounds of cheese, and I use 2 bags of the Kraft Sharp white cheddar cheese that's already shredded. And then I'm going to chunk this up to add some nice, really big cheesy chunks to that macaroni and cheese. Now I'm going to start with a cup of milk. Now I may use a little bit more, and like I say in my other videos, I don't usually measure things out, but for this video I'm trying to give you an idea of what I put in my recipes. So I'm going to start with 1 cup of milk, and then you're going to need 2 green peppers. So now I'm going to prep my food, wash my peppers, slice them up, and chunk my cheese up, and then we'll put it all together to make our macaroni and cheese. Now when I make my macaroni, I like to add a little salt to my water to give the macaroni some flavor. So I put my salt in. Now wait until your water boils to put your macaroni in. Now my water is boiling, so I'm going to dump my macaroni in. And then you just want to stir it so it doesn't stick. But I have to tell you a funny story. When I was in junior high, I'm not sure how many schools have home ec yet, but we used to have home ec where we'd go in and cook. And our group was making spaghetti, and I was in charge of making spaghetti. Well, I never cooked before, so I put the water on, stuck my spaghetti in there, didn't wait for it to come to a boil, and everybody in my class got mad at me because our spaghetti turned into one big blob and nobody got to eat their spaghetti. And it's something that always stuck in my mind to make sure that water is really boiling before you put your pasta in. So my macaroni is done. I'm just going to drain it and rinse it. And now we're going to start putting it together. So since my macaroni is done, I'm just going to pour it in my pan. Now I'm using a really big pan because when I make this, if I don't make my daughter a pan, then she'll get mad at me. So I'm just going to mix it up in a really big pan and then split it into 2 smaller pans. So I have my can of tomatoes. I drained some of the juice off, but I left a little bit in there. Just going to dump those tomatoes in there. And then we're going to add our cheese, and I just pour everything in the pot. This is really cheesy. Let me get that spread out so I don't make a mess. Now I'm going to dump the chunk cheese in. Now I'm going to add my green peppers. And then before I add my milk, I'm just going to stir this all up. Now, this is a pretty big pan of mac and cheese, and that's the one thing I still have a problem with because I'm used to cooking for me and my kids, and they're all grown out of the house. And this is so delicious. You'll probably want a big pan of this. But if it's only like just 2 of you, you can go ahead and just cut this recipe right in half and make a smaller batch. So that looks pretty good. You can see that beautiful red and green, just a colorful dish. And then I'm going to use 1 cup of milk. You just want to pour enough milk in that it coats the bottom of your pan so the macaroni doesn't stick and it just makes it creamy. So I'm going to move this over so you can just see on the bottom. See how it's just a little bit to coat the bottom of the pan. So now I'm going to separate this into 2 pans so I can give my daughter half to take home for her supper. So then I'm just going to stir it up again, make sure it's all nicely blended. And then I'm just going to check to make sure there's enough liquid. There is, just a nice little coating on the bottom. And now I'm going to cover with aluminum foil. Now I would cook this probably about 45 minutes to an hour on 350 degrees so those peppers have time to soften up. So let's get it in the oven. And I'll be back when our macaroni and cheese is finished. So now our macaroni and cheese should be done. I cooked it a full hour just to make sure it was nice and piping hot. Ooh, is that oven hot? Now when you go to take this Reynolds wrap off the top, be very careful because it will let that steam out and you don't want to burn yourself. Look how delicious this macaroni and cheese is. It's very delicious. It just has a wonderful Italian taste with those peppers and tomatoes. So let's get some lifted up. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe of the Italian style macaroni and cheese, and I'm hoping that our family favorite will become your family favorite. If you like these videos and you like these recipes, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the cooking fun.